Hey, Felicia, I found something.
What? Oh my god. I was studying the tomes.
I could see you were in your cafetan just eating your chocolate cigar. It was, I know not to disturb you, but hey, look. Okay. So you can come over here. I found a person and they're alive.
That's insane. There's so many skeletons down here.
It's crazy. Look, I don't know if this person talks or not, but let's just stand and stare and see what happens.
There's no earthly way of knowing.
Oh no!
Which direction
not
we
this.
are going.
Oh. I'm gonna go back to the tomes.
We found a demon.
Where we're rowing.
Is this a
How
demon?
do I return it? I don't know. It's a demon.
And in a train too, of all places, the sacred train, the sacred Wonka train in the Wonka well.
Oh!
Oh my gosh!
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Who are you? How long have you been stuck here?
What year is this?
It's the year of our Wonka Rapture 2023. How are you doing?
I've been down here for so long. I forgot what other people look like. All I have are my little toy trains and my little ball.
And your Blu-ray copy of Bong Joon-ho's Snowpiercer?
Yes. My favorite movie ever made.
Wow. Well, I'm glad we found you. Usually people turn into skeletons.
Is that I don't have anybody else to watch it with.
Oh no! Well, why don't we take you back to our weird studio apartment and we'll put it on the flat screen?
Oh man, you are lucky you found us. You've come to the right place.
I would
for we
literally
are all about the Wonka Watch.
Be so happy to finally watch this movie with another person. Have
news
you seen Snowpiercer before?
Unfortunately, yes.
Snowpiercer?
Not unfortunately, the movie's good, but I feel like it might be a letdown for you in this scenario.
How could it be a letdown when it's the only movie I have?
Okay, I'll go ahead, pop it. Oh no, what? There's a scratch on the DVD. Oh no!
There was time now.
Hi everybody, welcome to Wonka Watch.
Hello.
I feel like that just has to be our real intro for real. Like that's our real intro to the whole episode.
Yes. Welcome to Wonka Watch. That's Felicia. I'm Elaine, and you might be shocked. I know we're really good at doing voices, but there's actually a third human being on the podcast. What? That's crazy. And we're going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hello. Greetings, Hachino, which is Wonka Watch spelled backwards. I guess I'm your guest. I am Luke. I run a channel called Rhino Stew, and it is an honor to join you in your studio apartment in this well.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. We only have Raisinets. Hope that's cool. I don't know why. Not a huge Raisinette fan.
You know what? I'm more of a Red Vines person. At least you got candy. At least you have candy, and at least it's chocolate.
We have Red Vines and Dr. Pepper. Don't worry, we're making Red Vine straws and putting it in the Dr. Pepper.
I was looking to see if I could find a Wonka Watch real quick, and the only one I could find was about a mysterious defense contract in Dayton, Ohio called Project Wonka.
Wait.
Oh, wow, this episode...
my family lives there. I could figure this out.
This is way more interesting than what we were going to talk about.
Wait, what? Yes.
And they're making me subscribe for $4 to read it. They're making me subscribe to read it. I can't read it. I just got teased with this mysterious defense project
Is there a
called
free
Project
trial?
Wonka.
Oh, we're going to find a way to hack into that. But it's great that we have Luke here because you guys know that we did a whole episode talking about this wonderful Snowpiercer theory that Luke really spearheaded to the masses, I would say.
I mean, you created it, right?
Basically.
I am the person behind the Willy Wonka Snowpiercer video, which has kind of become a calling card of sorts. And I think it's. I mean,
I had seen it before this podcast, so I knew about it beforehand. And I knew we were going to have to cover it.
And that's like the number one thing that when we started this podcast that people were like, "Do you know about the Snowpiercer theory?" Like constantly was coming in.
I will tell you, in my personal life, I went on a date this week, and I told them I had a Wonka podcast, and I was covering Wonka theories this weekend. They said, "Oh, do you know about the Wonka Snowpiercer one?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm actually recording with the guy who made it on Sunday, so take that."
And then they left.
Yeah, they did leave.
Whoa, wait, Luke, what's in your hand?
Oh my goodness.
Is that a flyer for the CCJH drama students production of Willy Wonka's Jr. that's going on stage April 27th to 28th?
I believe it is.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wonka Watch News, the segment where we talk about all the news of Wonka Watch. And in honor of our very special guest, we've decided to finally break the seal on middle school productions. We have been holding off for 70 long episodes, and now this is the moment where we finally report. So Cactus Canyon's Junior High School Drama Club will transport Apache Junction to a world of pure imagination with their production of Roald Dahl's Willy Wonka Jr. April 27th to 28th. Performances are 6:30 p.m. at the Performing Arts Center of Apache Junction High School. Tickets are $5 for all ages and will be available at the box office for 30 minutes.
What a steal.
It has songs like The Candyman, I Want It Now, and Pure Imagination.
Classic.
And then they give an entire plot summary. And
for those who aren't familiar...
it takes tremendous imagination to communicate the whimsy and wonder of Willy Wonka's factory, and it requires great sensitivity to deliver the musical's key message on the importance of good character, says Drew Cohen, president of Music Theater International. We want to applaud the Willy Wonka Jr. cast and hope that Cactus Canyon Junior High's audience will outnumber all the Oompa Loompas in Willy Wonka's factory. Why'd they get a quote from the musical? That's a big deal. Like, to get a quote from MTI about your elementary school production.
Well, I feel like that's just about the show in general, and that's just what MTI...
But he specifically called out Cactus Canyon Junior High.
That is weird.
Who do they
what
have
connections
there?
does this director have?
We should go.
We should go. Where
Road
is
trip.
this?
Let's get in the train in the well.
Going to Arizona. Woo, woo.
The cavern system.
That's our Wonka Watch. Wasn't that a letdown?
It's a
It wasn't as bad as Duluth movies in the park, but it's
just like junior high. Just like junior high. Quite a letdown, but you still had to go through it, didn't you? But now you're on the other side, and better stuff is to come. Oh ho! Because today, Felicia, what are we talking about today? What are we doing?
As suggested by our lovely guest, we're ranking some Wonka theories today. As a Wonka theory expert, I think you have some unique insight on this. Yeah, where do your Wonka? I'm pretty sure most of your Wonka knowledge lies with the 1971 film. Would you consider that correct, or have you expanded? Is this more of a?
I think it's important to acknowledge that the original 1971 is sort of the King James Wonka. That between all of the other different versions, there's one that needs to be like, listen, this is the base. This is the most culturally ubiquitous and well-known, pun not intended.
Yeah.
And it's fat. The more I've looked into it, the more, I still love it as a movie, but it's interesting to look at it as a cultural property and artifact because it flies in the face of what people consider cinema and flies in the face of what people consider musical theater. Because I think, are we all musical people? We all like musicals?
Yeah.
We love musicals.
Yeah. I'm a little bit in denial, but yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
That's the only... Yeah.
My favorite is the musical one, so I can't talk. I can't pretend. I love the Willy Wonka musical. I think it's great. It was on my top 10 of my Spotify Wrapped this year.
It's always it's odd because it's a musical that originated as a movie musical and not a stage musical that kind of like became that. And versus I think like Disney musicals or most of that, it works great as a movie. I don't think it's ever succeeded as a stage production. Like, the structure of it works on film. It's not a kickline show.
Yeah. Willy Wonka, my personal belief is that the plot line works in the books, but as every successive adaptation I have seen, there's some deep flaw in the structure of this story that does not translate great to other medias. But it is especially too with the stage production, and especially because they have people come in with these preconceived expectations from especially the 1971 movie, because like people went to see the Golden Ticket Opera, and when they didn't sing Pure Imagination, people exited the theater en masse. And they had to make it explicitly clear that this was not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory because people got real pissed about it. And the same thing happened when it was first on West End, because at West End it was like very original. They didn't have any of the songs from the 1971 movie. And then they brought it to Broadway and they revamped it and brought some of the songs in, which for the better, but also structurally bizarre. Like both of them are wild. Yeah, and like the movies that do work they work better structurally because they play around a lot with the source material, which is for the better for the film. But it is, I mean, the adaptations that do the best job are the ones that are incredibly liberal with the source material, and I am at peace with that. That does not bother me. The ones that are at
least like the original plotline do the best.
Is there one that is sort of like the Turkish Star Wars of the Willy Wonka universe? Is there one that's just like a completely nutso?
Well, should we discuss the 2001 Scott Frank script?
Oh, yes.
So there was a draft for the opera's kind of that, though. I will say there's a line where Willy Wonka says his factory is alive, never touched on again. He's singing gargoyles. Yeah, he just says my factory.
Singing gargoyles
he says
in
my
the beginning
factory
that
is
never
alive.
come back.
It does things that I can't predict. It seems like he's some pawn for... Actually, no. What I think... Sorry, I've interrupted myself 8 times. What I think truly is the most insane piece of the Wonkaverse is genuinely Roald Dahl's sequel.
Oh,
that
yeah.
book is
Great glass elevators.
What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? I've had to explain this plot to people and no one believes me. And I'm like, no, it's real.
They're like,
he turns them into a pre-baby and they go to hell. It's like, and it's like...
The president?
No, and then there's the Scott Frank script, which is a draft script that was like early 2005 movie. The guy who wrote it is the guy who like wrote and directed The Queen's Gambit, which is wild. But it takes a totally different approach, like... Charlie's dad was killed in the factory and Wonka's trying to repay this debt, and he walks around in a robe all the time and
this is sounding a lot like Snowpiercer right there.
It actually kind of really does now that I'm thinking about it.
That is some mind blowing. You guys just wait. I was not aware of this.
Now I'm connecting the robe. Yeah.
Wait.
All the Oompa Loompas are really into Beck and Britney Spears, and they run a gift shop, and they're great, and
they got a lot of hijinks. That's their whole
Mike
thing.
TV's on a skateboard the whole movie.
Augustus Gloop's parents are Freudian psychologists, and that's just a lot. That it's so stunning. It's one of my favorite.
It's Elaine's favorite.
Wonkapedia. It's hands down my favorite, but it is the most unhinged. Like
it only surfaced like 2 months ago. Like no one knows about this. No one has talked about it. We're like the
not
only
enough people know. The people need to know. We could have had
the depth of your combined Wonka knowledge astounds me. I will fully confess, I thought the geese were real. I did not.
I think so we think the geese and the puppets are a combination. We think it's a combination, and most people do seem to think they're real. So I think Elaine might have been wrong.
I'm not fully wrong. It's just there are puppets and then there are real ones. But there's a moment of puppetry.
Yes.
There's a combo, and I'm happy to accept
that is
the combo.
actually brilliant because I think your eye is drawn to the real ones, and you don't notice that the ones on the side aren't quite as animated as some of the other geese.
Mm-hmm. It's either that or they took footage of small geese and made it big, and the frame rate was weird, so it looks off. Like that's
so they had like puppet vibes or something. Yeah, I'm not a puppet girl, so I'm very
I tried to do a lot of research, and then I was like, why does no one have a record of how the geese in the Wonka film were made? And then I was like, I realized this is stupid. We're like the only people that are this in depth into this. Then I'm like, that's why.
Harold, Boris, and Charles were the 3 geese that starred in the 1971 film.
Where was that in your book, Mel Stewart. I read like
Mel
200
Stewart.
pages of your diary about this fucking
Screw
movie.
you.
And about the soap concoction you put in the chocolate river to make it less
Are we
sudsy.
referring to Pure Imagination?
Yep. Also, can we talk about the sadistic? What is the tone in that book is insane. There's something.
I am so glad that you guys have been examining Mel Stewart, because I think that he's one of the most unsung figures in all of this, especially because I think he's a good director.
He is, but some of his methods. I think weekly about how he auditioned Augustus by asking him, the kid won't have any lines, so I'm just going to squeeze him and say, this is what the part's going to be like. How do you feel about that?
That's kind of why I thought it would be an interesting thing to consult you about, because when I read Pure Imagination, and I kind of took, I think that one other big thing about like our generation in particular, we took Willy Wonka for granted, like it's always kind of been there. When it was never supposed to last this long. That movie was not built to last, and yet it persisted.
Nevertheless, she persisted.
And B, when it made its way onto the internet, it became this source of speculation. And I would argue that like that Willy Wonka as a film has had 3 lives. There was its run in theaters, which nobody really remembered because it didn't do well on theaters. Its run as a VHS and TV rerun classic, which is typically how it is remembered, and the post-analytical weird life that it's taken on in the internet world.
Grandpa Joe
hate Reddit, all of this stuff.
Hate Reddit.
And the crazy thing about this, I don't like fan theories.
I'm kind of in the same boat sometimes.
Because I feel like a lot of them don't hold water. And like the point of all of this is to just be like, well, does this do anything better? Does this do anything good? But I found it fascinating how it's all of this stuff has hinged or formed around this movie.
They're never about any of the other Wonka medias. No. It's that one. I think it has such
no one gives a
interesting...
shit about the book, basically.
Right. Yeah, no one cares about the book. I mean, considering, I think Great Glass Elevator is one of the most niche things we've talked about, weirdly, because barely anyone's read it.
Yeah.
For good reason.
The weirdest reaction that I keep getting to the video is people who feel entitled to post, there is a sequel, right? And it's called... First off, I read Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator when I was in, elementary school. Been there, done that, did a class presentation on it. But it's not a sequel to the film. It's a sequel to the book.
No,
and people... I mean, I shouldn't be shocked that people on the internet still just don't seem to get that, but it baffles me that it's it's a completely different story, a completely different continuity.
This is interesting because I'm finding our differences in perspective, which makes sense because you're like a Wonka film purist where you see each thing as individual and their own things, and we have a holistic that's not the right word, but it felt funny to use.
Holistic approach
but
to
I feel like
Wonka.
we've been doing this so
very,
long that the lines have become so blurred that nothing matters to us anymore, so we just pull shit out of nowhere.
You're intersectional Wonka
fire.
Faith. I'm more reform Wonka, orthodox on my mother's side.
But and also I feel like the fan theories a little bit of the ones we're going to be reviewing today, they all skew dark and twisted, my dark and twisted Wonka fantasy. And I feel like we can be more interesting than that. And I think it's not. I don't know. It's just like
you realize that.
Go back and
you realize that my dilemma as a purist, because I'm very much a purist. I think the original film is kind of perfect in its own like weird little way. Like I don't think.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like. It shocks me that people find the need to try to make it darker when it's
I agree.
plenty dark to begin with. You really don't need to do anything to make that movie any more sinister than it is.
Yeah. And then some of the other theories are just like critical thinking. Yeah. I'm like, that's what happened.
So I have to kick things off because I will say that when I listened to your lovely podcast where you guys reviewed and dissected the video, you were
Which also, you emailed us, and I was like, fuck, what did I say?
I was
going to say there were some elements that I took umbrage with, some elements, but overall it was a fair cop. You guys were fair cops, and I was just curious to see if we applied this same level of scrutiny to some other Wonka theories that happen to be floating around. You know? Because
Are you talking about the ones that we've specifically added?
Yeah, no, we were talking about the ones that we were doing that, because I was just like, hey, I would argue that these theories have become as much a lifeblood of the Willy Wonka experience as the film themselves.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were targeting that specifically at the theories that we had written, and I was like,
no, fair.
We're going to get to those. Yeah, I was going to say.
Those together.
People in glass Snowpiercers are prepared to throw stones. I promise you that.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully am down with applying this level of scrutiny, and that's our approach, because I know, as you mentioned, the glass elevator, I remember I did take a little bit of glass elevator criticism, but that's only just because I think no one pays enough attention to the time-bending abilities of Wonka, and it makes me sad that we don't, as a society, don't discuss it enough.
I also have a little surprise around the corner for you, but it is nothing dangerous. All right. Ta-da!
Oh my goodness!
Yes!
You're the best.
We got a official Wonka Theory tier list.
Yes.
Right here.
The best.
Sharing on our chat right now, we have a Wonka Theory tier graded from S for Scrumdiddlyumptious down to A, which I think I don't need to come up with anything clever for A. B, C, D, and of course, the garbage chute.
Garbage chute.
Which is
garbage
Oh my
chute.
where all the worthless...
And I'm going to be honest, I think that garbage chute category will be quite
we're going.
Watch out.
This is not going to be an evenly
Start
distributed
warming up the furnace.
list.
Yeah.
So I feel like between the three of us, we're the three most fair and balanced people in literally the entire universe to do this. But let us agree on some grading qualifications. Let us agree on some general qualifications. I think we need to do A, functionality. Does this actually work within the story? B, does this enhance the experience at all? And D, it has to be clearly something that was not intended.
Yes. Yeah, because some of these are pure critical thinking.
The one I will also say to kind of kick things off when it comes to Wonka theory in general, and the reason why I think Wonka theory exists is because and exists solely in the original movie and in none of the other adaptations, is because Gene Wilder's performance adds that enigmatic element to it. You
Definitely,
don't know if he's being serious, you don't know if he's being real, and this creates what I call the Wonka uncertainty principle, meaning that there are multiple ways to interpret the performance in multiple ways and times, and because of that ambiguity, that is what causes people to collectively analyze and scrutinize all of this. Why you don't see in the depth version, why you don't see that, just as a thought, just as a little... kicking that out there.
No, I agree, because Johnny Depp's very easy to figure out.
Completely.
He's doing. It's not it's not. He's
right,
so.
Yeah.
I mean, all the other Wonkas. The only other Wonka who I think is as unscrutable is potentially the book Wonka. Everyone else, I mean, I agree. I think that is a good assessment.
Are we ready? Set? Yes.
So.
Roast
Good.
everybody.
On we go. All right.
Our first theory is the theory that everyone knows, which is that Wonka is a serial killer. I didn't even put a source for this because we all know Wonka is everyone's heard this theory, and mostly from the 1971 movie, because the book and a lot of the other versions show the kids leaving the factory. Tom and Jerry, Veruca is proven alive. Tom and Jerry Wonka. Where's the Tom and Jerry Wonka theories?
The classic.
I had to watch it again recently. It's stuck in my head.
Made us sad.
And the 2005 movie and the book, they're all shown alive. But because their fates are never determined, people think he killed the kids. This appealed to me originally, but as I have moved on, I just feel like it doesn't have oomph. I feel like it's boring. I don't know.
I
not only think it is boring, I think it is provably false. Because I was talking to my roommate, who happens to be a true crime fanatic. I was thinking about this because it's it's easy to say he kills the kids because you don't see the bodies. But the question really is, why would he murder these children? Why would he hold
doing
a giant public contest
marketing
to be like,
everybody knows what this kid looks like, their name, and their
We've
family.
had televised interviews for weeks leading up to my ritual murder of these children.
Yes.
Televised.
So you're realizing by this already we have drilled holes enough to sink this ship. This is already.
And worst of all, it's just so Route One. I feel like I'm going to be honest, I feel like half of the movie theories are like, what if this guy actually killed somebody?
Basic.
That's like every movie theory, and it's so boring. It's just...
Here's another thing to consider, too, when it comes to, like, motivating death versus motivating what Wonka does in the movie, is, as I discussed, when it comes to serial killer MOs... Typically, they do it, thinking they're going to be caught or, like, thinking they're never going to be caught, but it's always a sign of power. Why would he get power from doing this?
He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it.
He really doesn't.
He really doesn't. If anything, what it really goes to show isn't that he's a murderer, but he's a sadist. And that we can all agree on. But in order to be sadistic, they would have to survive and learn their lesson, not to be just...
I don't buy it.
Garbage chute.
Garbage chute goes in the garbage.
Garbage chute. Bad egg. I wish I had the bad egg sound effect. That would have been such a good... God, can I find it? I know. I looked so long for Wonka. Oh, man.
You can put it in post.
We can add it in later.
Man.
Oh,
Wait, do I have it?
Luke and I got it. We're good.
Wait.
You get nothing. You lose. Good gangster.
Okay, I actually do believe that. That works, though. That freaking works.
Next up is Wonka Planned It All. Which is most versions, especially the 1971 film, because Wonka seems to have specific traps designed for each kid in the factory, and he didn't seem all too enthusiastic about stopping them. And then the main evidence is there's only enough seats on the boat, minus Augustus. I feel like this is just critical thinking.
This absolutely doesn't feel like a theory. This feels like this was planned. This feels like this was common sense. To kick it off, have you seen Matt Pat's video about the Wonka rigged the ticket?
We actually haven't. I think we've been holding off.
So you should check this out.
This game theory reminds me of like high school.
Made a video called like Why Willy Wonka Was Rigged, and it starts off with a fascinating question, which is, what are the odds that all 5 golden ticket winners were white? And somebody posted that, honestly just asking like, hey, this feels like some genuine statistical bullshit. If this was a worldwide, can I swear, by the way?
Yeah, this podcast is a nightmare. We looked up a Willy Wonka sex toy last week. You're good.
God. My mind has gone to so many different areas.
It had a top hat and a bow tie.
Oh. So Matt Pat made a very well thought out video where he did like all the percentage runs and all that, and determined that the odds of all 5 golden ticket winners being white were like 0.024%.
Yeah.
So logically, it would have to be a rigged event.
I feel like there's 2 schools of this theory that basically, like, one theory school is like, oh, it was rigged once they got to the factory, but then there's other people that think he like handpicked all these kids, which there's no way he did. Like,
no, he did. I think that is 100% the truth. I think that these children were selected very deliberately.
What my personal belief in what happened is, this is also insane, but I think he had some sort of tracker within the golden tickets, because at the very least he would know what shipment box each of the golden tickets were going out to, which would allow him to pinpoint which children they were given to. And that's my explanation for how Slugworth got there. My personal fantasy is that Willy Wonka watched them on TV and went, oh God, oh no, and then did all the factory shit. But that's my belief, personally.
Literally, that he was just like, these kids are fucked.
Yeah,
somebody needs to do something. I'm literally that the whole point of the contest was just to punish these children.
Oh my god, new fan theory. Wonka worked with Santa, and Santa shared his naughty list, and Wonka was like, boo, I got you. I got at least like 5 of this.
My only gripe with the deliberate choosing of the children is, how would he know? Like, how would he know about Mike TV, and how would he know about Veruca Salt? And he would know about Veruca Salt, but like, how would he know about Augustus Gloop, this random German boy?
Santa Claus. Oh.
Okay. I mean, to be fair,
I fixed it. I did it.
That's my personal belief, is that he watched them on TV and went, fuck! And just edited everything.
He's like, God damn it.
It can't be any of them. It cannot be any of them. And then because the reasoning for my thing of that is, in the movie, all of their fatal flaws are established within their interviews on TV. So he could totally gather that, and he sends Slugworth there. And I think people are like, oh, well, how does he get Slugworth? He put trackers in the chocolate. Of course he did. This movie's stupid anyway. It doesn't matter. It's like, anything could happen. I don't know. That's my personal belief. I do believe it was rigged, but I don't know to what degree I believe, and also it changes in each version too. So, and I can't. I have a hard time separating.
I usually have thought that he handpicked them, but I'm also not sure like why and how. Again, because it's like,
I don't feel like
how do you find Augustus Gloop in his tiny little German village?
Did Wonka come out of retirement that he was like, I'm gonna fuck up 4 kids? Like, was that his goal? Was that? I fully believe the factory was rigged for Charlie, no question, because Wonka was like, you're gonna do it. It's gonna be you at the end, and that whole thing. And
I feel like you guys are sane, rational, understanding people that also run a Willy Wonka podcast, and that feels like it's the logical conclusion to come to. I'm shocked by people who still don't think that the whole thing was rigged as a test for Charlie.
If it is entirely luck-based, who are you kidding yourself? No, come on. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. At the very least, he watched the commercials and thought they were assholes and then rigged it all, which is my whole thing. But the whole rigging of sort of statistical rigging, that totally makes sense too. That that
there was a whiteboard moment at some point. You know,
he was in there with the Oompa Loompa PR team, figuring out what the best look would be when he did the interviews.
A protractor was around, just drawing shit. Yeah.
Now, here is the real Wonka theory in all of this. Were the kids selected because they each corresponded to a room in the factory? Or were each of these rooms constructed in this factory just as a trap for each of these individual kids?
I mean, we're the second theory believers.
Yes,
we have made multiple episodes based on that concept, where we just throw random characters through the factory and make a room designed to fuck them over. And that's what we do when we don't have ideas.
This factory is assumedly massive. I mean, it has access to hell. Yes. There's a fudge mountain in it. The elevator is going constantly everywhere. Sure, it's it seems pretty easy to just concoct a tiny little room, or be like, oh wow, I have this stick of gum. Oh my god, don't chew it.
He can also just lie.
Don't.
I feel like he just lies.
Yeah, it's also like he's not been lying the entire time.
Yeah, it's like
the TV room didn't have enough time for decoration, so it's just bland and white. And he's like, yeah, that was good enough. Who cares?
That's actually fantastic evidence, Elaine. I love
that. That's good.
Right.
And by the end, it's literally not even formed together.
As
it's
they
just
keep going, the egg room was an abandoned storeroom, which is why there's all the fucking Lily Pulitzer boxes in the corner that he can't get rid of. It's like his supply closet, and he just threw some geese in there. That's why all the ideas are weird. They're half baked. Every Wonka media adds some stupid new room, so I think we've gotten to the point where we think that there's it's essentially infinite, and you can do whatever you want in there.
Yes,
a little bit.
Yeah.
If we believe the calm sleep story, he can summon things from dreams. So,
yeah, chocolate goats. Crazy.
In terms of passing judgment, though, on these, I feel like both of these theories, they're linked in solid B tier. They feel like,
yeah. Well, the Charlie one, I do want to give some interesting insight, because Charlie being specifically chosen, I do kind of believe in. So in the 1971 film, I believe in it from the perspective of the candy shop guy was told to give it to a kid who needs it.
I completely believe that the candy guy was a plant the entire time.
But the thing is, I don't know how your familiarity with a lot of other versions. Every stage adaptation takes this a step further, because they don't want their lead actor off in the sidelines. So Willy Wonka himself is the chocolatier in disguise. That happens in every single stage adaptation of Willy Wonka. They keep that consistent. He's Mr. No in the opera. Literally in the Broadway
Master
musical,
of disguise.
he heckles Charlie for the entire first act. And he's like, oh, you're poor? Sucks. And then leaves.
He's like, you're starving? Bummer.
Like,
Not
he'll
my
watch
problem.
the TV and be like, oh my God, don't you wish you had a golden ticket? Better buy more, idiot. And then at the
This
end,
makes that's such a more sensible strategy too.
and
It's
then at
like,
the
how
end,
else
he's
it-
like,
I like how he's negging Charlie.
yeah,
That's
he's like,
awesome.
oh my boy, I've been mean to you for this entire first act. Have a chocolate bar. And then he gets it right away. And then in that version, Charlie also sends a paper airplane to Wonka that Wonka catches from his factory. I forgot about the paper airplane.
Ooh,
Yeah, the
that's
paper
very
airplane was
Onceler-esque.
Oh, God, it is. Oh, no. We can't go back to the Tumblr sexy man discussion. I can agree. I think it is a little bit critical thinking, but it is plausible, and I agree with it, you know?
Yes.
I think there's no way to not develop that theory after having watched the movie more than 3 times.
Especially like the other weird thing that I feel like keeps getting like left in the sidelines was they had a fake 5th golden ticket winner, and that guy was like, the name of that guy was one of Adolf Hitler's aides.
Yeah.
And they threw that in as just like a random joke that literally nobody got.
No one
And Mel
got it.
Stewart in the book was like pissed no one got it, right? If I remember that correctly. He was like,
like, "It's
nobody
gold,
got
though."
it. It was a good bit, and nobody appreciated my work, but it's fine.
I'd feel salty too.
Yeah.
I'd be like, damn.
Fun fact, in the Tom and Jerry Wonka, that character is played by Droopy Dog. Anyway, we need to get back to these. But yes, I agree.
Yes,
These are
so-
solid B tier.
Yeah,
Solid
B.
B. Let's put that. Okay, now this one was interesting. The 4 golden ticket theory.
This theory is more of an established, but I thought this was really interesting. So this is from
Yes,
r/fan
I like this.
theories by user PRTCGV. It has over 3,000 uploads. Is that a V or a Y? It's a Y, ladies and gentlemen. So when Willy Wonka announces his golden ticket giveaway, there's a mad rush for his chocolate bars in the first week. 4 or 5 of the tickets are found. In the book, Charlie finds a ticket on January 31st, and the tour happens the next day on February 1st, just down the street from where he lives. They think that this was part of Willy Wonka's plan. He wanted a contest to continue for as long as possible, since once the 5th ticket was found, the rush to buy his chocolate would die down. If this ticket had been found anywhere but the town the factory was located in, the winner would have to travel to the town to attend the tour, and that would have risked them missing the tour. So at the start of the contest, Willy Wonka sent out 4 tickets to the UK, Europe, and the US, and withheld the last ticket until the last possible moment to continue the hype around the contest for as long as possible.
I mean, that's just smart.
I agree.
Marketing.
And I
Yeah,
also
it's
think
smart.
it's
That's business.
perfectly, I think it sucks that he wouldn't put them out worldwide, but I also think he'd probably put them all to primarily English-speaking countries. Or
Yes.
countries that, I mean, clearly it has to be targeted to a certain degree with the racial makeup of the children picked.
Kind of want to give this an A tier because I just
think it's
like
good. I
the
think
notion.
it's
Same.
good.
I
I
think it's
never thought about
solid.
it that hard, but 100%. You wouldn't release
It's just
it
a
until
little.
the last minute.
It's a neat little concept. I think it makes you think about the movie a little bit. It makes it a little better.
It's like those sweepstakes
Yeah.
that companies do. Like, there's a lot of like golden ticket ass sweepstakes, and a lot of the times I think no one ever wins them. That's my personal theory.
I won one of those.
Really?
I was a winner in the Captain Crunch Where's the Cap'n contest.
They are
And
real.
I won. They are real, and I won. I found all the Crunchlings. I solved all of the clues on the back of the cereal boxes, and I won $160.
Wow.
You should have said this in your accolade at the beginning. Why isn't this part of your intro for everything? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god!
That's because I only tell
Royalty.
that. I only tell that to people who I match with on Hinge. Up next.
I hate this
next.
one. I hate this one, and I'm going to say that right now.
Stoked.
I hate this, and I hate that it works.
I hate that it works, and I just think it's stupid. And I'm like, do we need to do this? Is there not enough whimsy for you? You got to take all the whimsy out and put it in the fucking garbage.
Our theory here is it was all a dream. Everyone's favorite theory for any fucking piece of media that's ever happened. A theory that everyone always has. Literally, it could be anything from a Tom and Jerry comic, perhaps, up to Harry Potter. It was all a dream. Original.
If a character closes
Wild.
their eyes ever, it was a dream.
They never woke up.
They've been in a coma for 30 years. They're on life support, and
God.
Grandpa Joseph whispers into his ear.
Damn
I
you,
hate this
Alice in
theory.
Wonderland. You
Why can't
fucked
we have the
everything
theory
up.
like Wonka grows plants to keep the bee population running. Why can't we have a nice theory that's fun?
Just a nice little
Wonka
casual
volunteers
one.
at his local soup kitchen.
Wonka collects teapots.
Nice.
It's just,
Now-
you know?
I would normally hate this. Except the timing of it.
And it is unfortunate that it does
so
work.
excruciatingly perfect. Just like the fact that it turns into a dream at the lowest point
Exactly.
of Charlie's life.
Yeah, because the theory is by user Jacobim1 from Fan Theories. These are all from r/Fan Theories. And it's basically around the 29th minute mark, the fifth golden ticket is found and reported on the news as Charlie is going to sleep. Charlie hears this and is falling asleep as his grandfather says, "Let him sleep. Let him have one last dream." I submit to you that the entire rest of the movie is Charlie's dream after hearing that he no longer has a chance to win the contest, which he imagined could change his life. And the theory is just that he was poor and miserable and his life was awful, but suddenly everything was perfect and that Wonka's factory was dreamlike. I think structurally it does make sense and it is plausible. The only problem is that means in this universe, the fifth ticket is won by the ex-Nazi.
Well, no, hold on.
It could
Hear me
still
out.
be fake, but
It could have still been a fake ticket. We don't know that. But,
I mean, does he have a dream?
yeah,
of
that
the
is a little
plot
too dark.
And then wake
that is a little
back
dark
up?
that the Nazi wins. Although that does mean that a Nazi probably gets like stuck in a fudge pipe or something like that.
Yeah.
I could be down with that.
That would be
interesting.
great.
Well, I guess like Wonka could have just chosen a different boy than Charlie.
Yeah, I think that's what would
if he,
really
if he has
happen.
a plant in the candy store, the guy is like scoping kids out,
And Wonka
like,
and
you know,
Charlie has
not
fallen
to
into
diss
a
this
coma
town,
at
but
this point.
right?
A
Charlie
sugar coma?
He very much, since he's like only eating cabbage soup, which is like water essentially at this point, very much could just die. So you know, but
Is this
so,
Charlie's
like,
death rattle? Is the "I've Got a Golden Ticket" song? That's horrifying. That's actually so bad.
Ticket. Wow, dark. So anyway, I feel like I'm not going to give this garbage shoot just because, like you said, like it has
when the glass elevator breaks through the ceiling, it's Charlie's rise to heaven. I hate fan theories. They're stupid.
Oh, wow. And then the vermicious canids. I agree with you that like this normally would be a throwaway. It would be more of a throwaway, but it
feels
does
like
fit.
Yeah.
It's so mean, and I have to respect things that are that mean.
Yeah, it's so brutal that I'm almost like, let us have fun. Do we need to make it this brutal? But yeah, I agree on a C. C sounds good. Speaking of heaven, the next theory is that Wonka is the entire story is a Christian allegory, and this was wild to me, which is why we're talking about it. This is from user Dave Burzak. And this is the quotes, which I shall read. "This becomes apparent in the musical number The Candyman Can in the sweet shop scene. The lyrics just don't talk about candy. They talk about a physical world of wonders, imbued with love by a mysterious creator. Wonka is established as God." Soon thereafter, he invites a group of children to visit his factory to secretly test them. He entrusts each of them with an everlasting gobstopper, the soul they must each safeguard against his enemy, Slugworth, who we saw earlier devilishly whispering into the bad children's ears as they nod greedily. Each of the children is an avatar for some vice, and each is cast out for succumbing to that vice. Then Charlie, the avatar of virtue, remains but is tested one last time with unyielding wrath. When he humbly puts his gobstopper back on the desk, giving his soul over to God instead of selling it out to the devil, he finally inherits the whole chocolate factory, the ultimate childhood symbol for heaven. I think that's a bold statement, but sure. Then the kicker. We learn that Slugworth is actually an agent of Wonka employed to test the moral character of each child, and I don't know enough about Bible lore.
Yeah.
As it's famously called, lore, to really dispute that. I don't know why that's the kicker.
Well, I found it
so I'm not
fascinating.
really sure on that.
Yeah, I think because of the movie's inherent just basis as a morality tale, and because when you think about religion in general as just ascribing a base of morality to humankind based on
Good versus
society,
evil.
that you can almost you can almost apply any type of religious overlay to almost any morality tale. I take issue with the idea that this is specifically a Christian allegory.
No, it is truly it is a morality tale, clearly, but it's not a I wouldn't say it's specifically a Christian one. That did not stop them from making a Wonka devotional, though. I have read it. It's not that funny, which is why we haven't covered it, but do know I'm aware of its existence. check it out on archive.org. It's available up there. What was the essay we read? We read a philosophical essay when we were covering the book Roald Dahl and Philosophy, where they described him as a specific sort of god, where he doesn't meddle in the certain... I can find it in like 5 seconds. I'm going to find this fucking thing.
Yeah, he was... Yeah, basically, like, I think where a lot of this goes astray is, like, I think you could argue that Wonka might have, like, demigod powers in this universe, because we've talked a lot about, like, the grip he has on the economy. The fact that there's inventions, but then also, like, maybe magic. I mean, that, again, like in Glass Elevator, he basically has access to hell with the Gnooli land and stuff, and like the Minus land, basically. And it's like, this is beyond we're inventing chocolate and having really cool ideas. Like, this is not the Tesla, this is hell and space and like all this stuff. So I feel like, you know, in the sense of this being like, does Wonka possibly have these like demigod powers in the universe? Maybe. I think that's an argument, but I don't know if it's like specifically Christian allegory, if it, you know, like, I think it's like you were saying, where it's just like, it's a moral story. The whole point when, you know, you have these religious texts is that they're supposed to be able to apply to a lot of people's lives. You're supposed to like learn from it. And so a lot of stories that we tell for plot's sake do have a good versus evil thing, because you want to root for something. So yeah, it seems kind of like a throwaway, you know, like...
I found what I was looking. It's from Epicurus and the Chocolate Factory by Benjamin A. Ryder. He said that
we roasted this guy.
Me.
If I recall, we roasted this guy.
No, that wasn't as bad as some of the other ones. Getting our just desserts. Willy Wonka, Immanuel Kant, and the Summum Bonum. That one was bad. He will be altered quite a bit. Discipline and punishment. There were some good ones. But no, the one we really roasted was the guy who wrote the entire book. One of the guys had a real, like, he made this whole thing about how chewing gum was actually evil and bad, and I was like, that's not the thing to get into. Like,
it was wild.
It was like, that's like the weirdest part of Wonka's ideology. Don't get into that one.
Really?
But anyway, he described Wonka as one might be tempted to read Wonka as a mystical god who metes out justice to humans in his realm, punishing the wicked and rewarding the good. Referenced Dante's Inferno a bunch. But he argues that Wonka is so absorbed into the joy of the factory that he's almost in another realm and is close to the Epicurean role of the god. And Epicurean gods don't care about humans and are just kind of there, which I'm more into.
I'm down with that. That makes a lot more sense.
Closer.
If he is, I do not think he's like a Christian god in any sense, because he's not really benevolent.
Yeah, no, he's not. Wonka doesn't exist to serve humanity. Wonka exists to serve Wonka.
This is God without Jesus, is what this is. Charlie is Jesus.
This like Old Testament God who is
Augustus
like, flood the earth. Get out of here.
Augustus Gloop is Jesus, and the chocolate tube is the cross.
I will
now,
say
hold
this.
on a second there. Hold on, you've won me over. Put it at a D instead. Is that a C now?
No. I feel like this is maybe. I don't know if this is garbage shoot. I
feel like we can't put Christianity in a garbage chute. I would put it as a...
I don't see that going well for us.
I feel like D tier is solid.
I can understand the assumption, but I'm not interested.
Yes, there is, like, I see where they were trying to make the ties. I just don't fully, see the full vision. I was like, yeah.
I always looked at, which I think is important to differentiate between all of the versions of Willy Wonka. It originated as an Anglo story, like very English, very British, all of that stuff. The movie is very Jewish. It is a very Jewish comedy, Jewish paced, rhythmically that type of movie. And when it came to kind of famous tests of virtue, when it came to Charlie at the end with does he return the everlasting gobstopper or not, it actually reminded me a little bit of the test that Moses did way back when he was a kid. Do you guys know this?
No.
I don't think I recall.
I will briefly say this because this is a fun little tidbit of Hebrew school knowledge that I picked up way long ago. But when Moses, because he was like found as a baby in the river, they didn't do that, and they were like, how do we trust this random baby to be Pharaoh's son? And they actually put like little kid Moses through a test where they put a thing of gold and a burning hot coal in front of him. And they were like, listen, if he picks the gold, that means he just wants you for your money. And if he picks the coal, that means that he's, not a thief. Moses, fortunately, he was reaching for the gold because he's this freaking baby, has no idea what's going on. Then one of the angels guides his hand to touch the coal instead of the gold, because it's like if you touch the gold, you're dead. You touch the coal, you stay alive. So he touches the coal, and it burns his hand, and it immediately puts his hand in his mouth, and it actually burns his tongue, and which makes Moses very famously slow of speech and tongue. Fun fact. So at least in terms of tests of virtue, I almost felt like it was something more aligned with that. But that even does it, it doesn't kind of make it, but always just like, don't choose gold. Choose the thing that is not gold. Yeah. That's almost like every freaking morality tale story.
Don't choose money. Don't be greedy.
Don't be greedy. Fittingly, as we have, at the halfway point, we have entered the tunnel.
So this theory is insane. It very much felt to me like reading one of those philosophical essays we had to read for our Roald Dahl and philosophy book. Because this theory posits that the tunnel is a psyop and like a psychological manipulative form of security for the factory, and the entire it like pokes holes in itself as it's writing it. So this theory is from user Devon247. I added this mostly because the TLDR is very funny, but basically a lot of people are left baffled by the tunnel scene. This person says, what was the point, you ask? Why does such a tunnel exist in the factory? I believe I have the answer after all these years, which... Wonka knew people would be too carried away with eating the scenery to the point that Augustus was. To prevent any further, more major thievery, he had to have a security system. He could easily build lasers and security cameras, but in order to find some candy really worth stealing, you had to go through the tunnel. What better form of subduing potential thieves than to subdue them from the inside? Would you be in the mood to steal some delicious chocolate after seeing a hissing tarantula up close? How about an army of gnats? How about a loud shrieking poem, possibly alluding to the inevitable conclusion of all humanity? Nope, although the children's do take a gobstopper, they only take it for the benefit of profiting off of Mr. Slugworth, which is why they don't consume any right away. This aside, the three children aside from Charlie remain untamed, as they are simply too young to understand the imagery. It was only the adults who were affected, those who could possibly pursue thievery to steal ideas and concept for Wonka to private off of his rivals. TLDR, Willy Wonka's tunnel is a form of security to subdue the id, the part of the human psyche which, according to Freud, is what causes the mind to make impulsive decisions based on self-gratification, and what categorizes human beings as animals.
Okay.
Above animals is all other living beings on Earth. It's written a little weird.
Whoa.
What are your thoughts?
What a mood shift as a TLDR also. Like.
Except here's the big thing. It doesn't work. Like literally in the next scene, Violet is eating gum. Like that, like clearly.
And like the author's like, so like the kids aren't affected because they're little. But the parents are real freaked out. It's like Grandpa Joe goes on a fucking bender on fizzy lifting drinks. He doesn't give a shit.
This changed nothing. Care. All the title did, which...
No.
They got over it like 3 minutes after leaving the room. Also, my personal Wonka theory. These are the type of theories I want more of. Wonka came up with this theory while drunk on Appletinis at Applebee's. And that is my personal belief. He just said, what if I fucked him up in the tunnel? And that was just a silly little fun experiment.
I just feel like there needs to be more cult theories about this, because this would be such a cult thing. What they do is they try to desensitize you. Like, they bring you down. You should be scared. And then he's the one, even though he caused you the source of fear, he's also like your main guy in this factory. He can bring you comfort again. He can bring you joy. Look at my little wallpaper. You can lick
that
it.
is like
Isn't
a test of faith right
cool?
there.
The snozberry tastes like snozberries.
Oh, here's
and
even more messed up. Even more messed up. There isn't
actually
any flavoring on it. Like, he's just making them lick the wallpaper, and they have to be like, it tastes delicious.
It's just like, it tastes like snozberries.
Yes, Wonka.
You know what the fuck a snozberry is,
Violet
right?
Beauregard actually ate a normal piece of gum, and that was a psychosomatic response from the fucked up shit beforehand. And Mike TV disappeared into thin air because he didn't believe in himself enough. That's so stupid. He didn't believe in himself enough. That makes no sense. Yeah, I think this one's stupid.
But yeah, no, I think of all the things you could do with the tunnel.
And
I think
even
this
like
is,
Mel Stewart refutes it in the book. He says, like, people go on all these crazy Freudian analyses about the tunnel and like, what the hell does that mean? I just put it in because I thought it would be interesting and added dramatic tension. And I also think it's odd how like that passage of dialogue, the river song, that's the only moment like verbatim from the book that like makes it into the original movie.
Yeah. It's just Gene Wilder's delivery is weird, and that's why it feels so intense. Like,
I always found it...
You know, fun fact, they make Tuffy the Oompa Loompa deliver that line. in the
Horrifying.
Tom and Jerry movie. Not worth it.
Absolutely horrifying.
So why do you guys think the tunnel exists? Like within Wonka's psychology?
Our view of Wonka is very warped, and we're aware of that. Like, our view of Wonka as a character, it's a little bit distant from the source material, because our brain, I feel like we just kind of have lumped them all together into one big fucked up pile and just kind of take what we want out of and move on. But like, do I, as a person, what I really believe, I think it might be kind of the whole like put people through something that's kind of stressful to then make the rest of the factory, maybe make the whole thing feel more exciting and high stakes. Like, I feel like that might be what it is. Now, for me, for fun, do I like to think it's Wonka drunk one night going, well, I think this would be fun, and that being it. Like, that's what I want it to be. But like, he did a poetry class in college.
That never got to
he
go
did a poetry
out.
class in college, and he's been wanting to whip this out for ages, and nobody will let him do it at the open mic nights. And he's like, "This is my time. This is my time to shine." But no, I think it's probably more of like a, I guess, like maybe like making the stakes higher is what I would think.
My theory, which I think is also kind of relates to the root of why I love this movie, is that it is an assortment. Like, the film itself is very much a series of episodes, and each episode is a different sort of delight, a different sort of taste, and a different sort of flavor. And that when you think about candy in general, there are the sour ones, there are the more intense ones. And fear as an emotion is important for Charlie to understand, because it's like you can still use fear and survival, like the feeling of overcoming something dramatic.
Right.
Use that in your candy. Think about, like, find an emotion and use it.
I'm thinking about it too. The tension, there is tension in this moment in the book, and it comes from the fact that the boat itself is like physically stressful. Like, it's very much going everywhere and like hitting walls and shit, and like, it's not that bad. It's a whitewater rabbit ride, essentially. And Charlie's like, this is fucking nuts. But with the budget of the 1971 movie, you can't do that. So this was a practical way to turn that very physical, monetarily demanding stress into something that wasn't that, because the thing does need that stress to, like, after the Augustus thing, you're like, is this guy fucking nuts? And then you go in the title and you're like, oh, yes, he is
completely
insane. Like, you need it.
Well, one of the parents is yelling, "Wonka's a madman," at one point, and like,
he's
so
loony.
crazy. Which, by
He's
the
off
way,
his nutter.
Quick aside, another reason why we love the Scott Frank script is that at this point, before they get on the boat, he's created new candy called Riddle-ins.
What?
Riddle-in. And he created Riddle-in, and so he's like, take it, and you'll just be really focused and calm after this. And so basically, you're supposed to be, each candy has a little riddle on it, and then you're supposed to, like, you take it.
Yeah,
Riddle in.
Thing.
Yeah,
it's a good pun.
Riddle in.
Also, that Wonka has a full desert in his factory. And they go on camels through the desert.
Tight.
I understand why it wasn't made. The budget would have been nuts, but it's
But anyway, so the Riddle-in is opposite, obviously, of causing so much like stress and chaos in this tunnel, which is again why that script is fantastic and wild. But no, I'm right there.
Yeah, it's a definitely. I feel like that's not what the point is, but I can understand their impulse. I feel like it's like a D tier. It's not garbage shoot. It's just
D.
Yeah, okay.
Here it goes.
So this one,
here we go.
You specifically requested that we cover this in the episode because you have beef with this.
I have umbrage.
This is
the
Violet should have won the factory theory.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared.
I want to say right now, as the known Violet Beauregard apologist on this podcast, I also think the theory doesn't hold water, but I understand the discussion it generates. Does that make sense?
Go on.
So this theory is essentially, it talks about how Violet Beauregard has a lot of traits that are not unlike our main guy, Wonka. And the person who writes this posits that, like, this means she should have won. I agree with the fact that out of the factory children, Wonka is by far the most like Violet Beauregard. You cannot tell me that man was not like that as a kid. I'm like, with the amount of media I have read, the only thing that is consistent about Wonka is that he is stubborn, does not listen to anyone, and incredibly egotistical, all of which are traits of Violet Beauregard. However, that is not what Wonka was looking for in a factory heir, which is why she was not chosen. And that's what I believe. She wouldn't have been chosen because Wonka specifically says he wants a child to mold in his image. He doesn't want another Wonka. They're too similar. It's a problem. He wants someone who will arguably be better than him and, like, not have his faults, I think, a little bit, but then also is a blank slate. And Violet Beauregard does not listen to anyone. And I love that for her. But she's not going to be a good factory owner. I mean, she might be, but not through the Wonka pipeline.
I think
that's my official statement.
I'm kind of there too, Felicia. As you actually said that Wonka is the most like Violet Beauregard out of all the kids, and I was like, see that
I
right
think
there.
that's a good
that
point.
Right there
that is a good point, actually. I will
that's
admit
a good point. Anyway, that cracked me up. But yeah, I feel like because her dad is the car salesman, and I think you learn a lot in sales. If you're in sales, you're brutal. I think that she would handle it well, but I just don't see. Should she have won the factory? Is also talking about morally, do we care? Or are we looking then again more at like credentials? And I feel like she probably could have, but like
this post is talking from a pure credential standpoint.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, so it's like you get that out of the way, then like,
and I do think if Wonka, if this was an internship and they had to turn in their resume and write an essay about why they want to run the factory, Violet would have won. Like that's my, like she knows more about candy than anybody else.
Violet, of all of these kids, makes the most sense to run a factory. Does she make the most sense to run Willy Wonka's factory?
That's, I think, the thing.
She doesn't like chocolate, right? She's not a huge fan of chocolate. Like, she's like, whatever.
Yeah, she doesn't give a shit. Which I think for a business person means she can pivot. She can pivot when there's a moment of she was able to pivot from chewing gum to eating chocolate bars. She can do it, but it's no, she's not the right answer for Wonka. Wonka, I think, looks at her and sees the worst parts of himself and wants to get rid of her. Because also, being mad at her for chewing gum is the stupidest reason to be mad at a person I've ever heard. That it feels like there has to be something deeper going on there. Because he's like, you chew gum. Whoa. I hate it. Get out. And it's like, what? Well, compared to all the other kids,
I want you to explode.
I want you to explode, and I'm going to turn you into a big blueberry. Get fucked. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like, God.
I don't know. It's,
when this came around... And everyone was weirdly. I also realized this came out shortly after my video drop. I think mine was like October, 2018, and this was November 2018. So it was very weird that like it almost became like a 1-2 thing. Just that these Wonka theories kind of emerged out of the blue near the same
I do
time.
I need to give my credit where credit is due. Yeah. This was most made popular by user Avena on Tumblr.
I believe that she penned it. I believe this is her original theory that she came up with.
That's what I thought. And she gives a compelling argument for the reasons why why Violet would be a good successor, but not for Wonka specifically.
Yes.
And I think she points out that like she's too similar to Wonka, and that's why she like doesn't win it at the bottom. Like she does mention that, but I think that's the whole thing, and I think it's turned into not Violet had the traits to be a good chocolatier, but because of Wonka's weird criteria wasn't selected. And it's turned into Violet should have won the factory full stop. And it's like, no.
Yeah, I think she would have been a great CFO. I think that she should be on the board. I think that, like, in terms of that. But the idea that, like, this is just me personally projecting all my faults and insecurities onto a children's movie. But I genuinely think that when I read this the first time, I'm just like, well, this is just pure capitalism right here. We're missing on like, but
yeah,
you know, it's like clearly from a business sense, but from an artistic sense, would Violet have had the creative vision to try to lead the factory? Would she have come up with more imaginative candy?
Is true. But here's my umbrage with that.
Yes, go.
Does Charlie, because Charlie's kind of a nothing burger in the 1971 movie. Charlie shows that boy's entire personality is looking at things. He says nary
but
a
Charlie
word.
wants it most of all.
Why does Wonka know about this child's chocolate making acumen? Because I totally get behind that argument in a lot of the stage adaptations really try to beef up Charlie's creative adaptation, because the thing is they let him riff with Wonka's the chocolate store owner. So Wonka's the chocolate store owner is like, oh, this kid's got fucking ideas. There's an 8-minute song in the opera about a sugary blue baby bird egg that's way too long, and it gets stuck in my head a lot, and it makes me mad. But it's so like that's the reason that I think this theory does not hold water in any other adaptation of Wonka. Truly, like Violet in that movie is the most toned down and like kind of normal. Like, I mean, she's a little annoying, but she's about as annoying as most kids you meet, in my opinion. And Charlie doesn't show a ton of chocolate making acumen, because most of his chocolate related desires are more because he's starving and you feel bad. Like, it's, not really.
Yeah.
So it's just because he's a starving child without food rather than like this is his lifelong passion. It really feels like Grandpa Joe's Toddlers and Tiaras moment more than a Charlie Bucket original. That's my take. That's my bold take.
I think it's hard to teach someone creativity. Like, you can continue to like grow your creativity and stuff, but like I think like some of this you can learn, but some of that you just have it like in you. Like, that's just who you are, and so like there's only so much that can be like morphed in a person.
I think Wonka's also like, this kid's the most traumatized out of all these four.
Wonka, I mean, he literally says,
Wonka.
Like, destined to pursue a creative
Wonka
path.
literally says, I want an adult. I don't want an adult because they won't listen, and I want someone who I can mold in my image. So he wants a blank slate. So Charlie's perfect.
Yeah.
He wants the Play-Doh boy. Like, that's what he wants. So, like, give it to him,
Yeah, because the other exception is, would Violet have been obedient to Wonka?
and absolutely not.
She was going to sell him out to Slugworth, I think. No, she could have easily, like the second that she gets the board, there's mergers.
100%.
They, like, Wonka and freaking Fickle Grouper, like, conglomerate to each other to form Fickle Grouper Wonka. That, and the way I see it is like Violet would become the Kathleen Kennedy of the Wonka Candy Factory. With that being said, I personally have come around to the sheer ingenuity and creativity that came just from devising and posting. In terms of fan
much
theories,
better theory.
It is exceptionally well thought out, and it is a radically different way to look at them.
Can we give it A tier? I feel like it's at least. I feel like it's got.
I think we have to give it
It is on a
A-tier.
level
I feel
above
like we have
anything
to.
else we've talked about at this point, so I think we have to.
And it's got over 260,000 Tumblr reposts. Like, this was well circulated. It was well acknowledged, and it was clearly made out of love for the movie. I would also say that I personally still love Denise Nickerson's performance
she's so
in the
good.
original movie. I think she's completely adorable. She's so delightful.
Hi, Cornelia.
Although, out of all of the kids in the new one, in the Burton one, I loved what they did with Violet in the Tim Burton
It was
one.
really
I thought
good.
that was a
Every
really good way to
adaptation past the
interpret that
1971
character.
one has noticed that they need to make Violet more bad, because you just kind of felt bad for her in 1971.
It was like she chews gum.
That chews gum and seems to be pretty cute, and like just like she's pretty. In a lot of other movies, Violet Beauregard in 1971 would have been the protagonist. Like, she had that kind of I'm a go-getter, on like a Disney Channel movie. She would have been the one when he sells all the
She
coins
is
at the
Hannah
lemonade
Montana.
stand to get her Girl Scouts to the Florida. I don't know what I'm saying. She's a real treat, but I do love how every other adaptation they were like, oh, we need to make her so much worse. This didn't work. It's like, she's too cute.
We like this girl too
it feels
much.
bad when she gets to get juiced.
Up next, we have I threw in the Wonka Piercer.
Well, I feel like we have to put it on
block,
there.
if we want to read.
Are you sure? I feel like we have no basis for this. This has like no research. There's
We can
like
skip
really
it.
nothing at all.
I mean, like, if we had the person who made it on the podcast to be different, I'd consider it. But it's
Yeah, obviously, but
Before we rank it, what I will ask
Yes.
you guys, is this a Willy Wonka theory or is it a Snowpiercer theory?
I feel like it's more of a Snowpiercer theory. I will be honest. I think considering as a Snowpiercer theory, I buy a lot of it more
Yes.
than if we consider it as a pure Willy Wonka theory, because the movie didn't exist. So it doesn't, like...
That's why I almost feel weird putting out, because I'm
But
like, it's not
I do think it
actually
makes
like
you think
a
about
Willy
things
Wonka
in different ways. But I do feel like
based
we
theory,
had to acknowledge it because you're
Yes.
here. So, like, if we're gonna cover our weird bullshit theories
Yes.
that are bad, like, I feel like we have to also, like, put you on there.
No, let's talk for a second, because you guys there were some parts in the video that you thought were strong and some parts that you thought were weak. So you can say it to my face.
I do remember, because I think I re-listened to it, so I should remember what I said. I do remember I took beef with the idea that Charlie understood chemistry because he stood next to a chemistry experiment class.
That's right. That's right.
I would like to clarify this. I was not attempting to illustrate, Charlie takes one chemistry class and he all of a sudden becomes an expert in chemistry. No, I was, of course, as you put up, learns it from Wonka, refines his skills, but this is the moment that foreshadows the madness.
Yes.
This is step one. This is not just ta-da. In my defense, because that was a little harsh. I was like, come on.
I'll be honest, this podcast, we're known for being harsh, so it's not just you.
Me.
Our apologies for any moments where we were slightly too harsh, because we look, we have a prerogative to be on this podcast. So, no, I did, like, I genuinely enjoy the theory because I'd watched it pre-Wonka Watch, so like I've liked it, and I've watched the Snowpiercer video, and I thought it was fantastic. By the way, fantastic stuff on the production design. It was super cool.
When I think about it, I think the things that stood out most to me, because I'd never seen Snowpiercer, and I didn't know anything about it, so like for me, like when going into it, like the discussion around how food has a really big importance, like these Jell-O insect blocks, and like and then each train car is a different room, and you lose somebody along the way. For me, I was like, okay, that's pretty solid. Like, that's pretty solid. And so, like, for me, that was like,
you said, for the evidence of does this enhance the experience, you said you liked watching the movie and looking for the Wonka moments, because the way we structured this, I watched the theory, talked about it, and then Elaine watched the movie because she'd never seen it, and then we discussed and put our brains together to watch the video. So, like, I hadn't seen the movie recently, and she hadn't watched the video, so it was kind of a weird thing, but looking for the Wonka stuff enriched the experience for you.
I liked it better because of that. I don't know what that fully means in terms of the theory, but it made me enjoy the movie more. So I feel like then, you know, the threads are there, obviously, and there's some, I don't know.
There's like, so much stuff I want to say on the pod, but there's some secrets and revelations that I'm holding off until chapters 2 and 4 of the video, so I'm not sure how much I can let slip.
Oh my goodness.
But I will say that there are a few hidden things that nobody quite picks up on in the video. I think one of the biggest ones that you guys point out is he doesn't mention the tropical climate and the Oompa Loompa stuff.
Yeah.
Which I promise you, that was the only real hidden chess move in that video. Is because... One thing that I noticed when I was trying to make that video, because fun fact, I have never made a good persuasive essay in my life. So the fact that I made something that genuinely persuasive based entirely on made up evidence is one of the biggest.
Yeah. No, because I watched the video and I was like, he's spitting pure facts. This is crazy. He's so right. And then the only reason I was able to like look was because I've had this stupid fucking Wonka podcast for like 6 months. And I think at that point we were going through a phase where we were over it. We were over it.
Right,
we're like, this is
we
dumb.
Shouldn't be.
And I think you might have been pretty quick after the philosophy book. And I think you may have suffered from that.
I am so glad that I'm at least ranking above the philosophy books.
You're
right?
so high above.
Oh my God.
The speculative Wonka media, you're up there. You're very high up there, because everything else, most of it's bad.
With the trick with that video, because I didn't know how to make it a formal argument, I was literally just like, okay, I knew that they were similar, but if I could somehow thread it to make it a sequel, then people would actually click on it, and then people would just be like,
that makes total sense. Yeah,
that becomes the calling card. So like, I was just like, okay, if this was a sequel, how would this work? And then I would posit an idea, play it back, and then drink a half bottle of Chuck Schwab, and if I didn't believe that, I would go back and record. So there's no script for that video. There was never a completed formal script.
God.
It is it was literally just me forming a one-sided dialectic argument to just like convince myself that this was possible.
Yeah. Well, that makes everything make much more sense. The whole thing, now I understand it all.
Oh yeah, no, it's social engineering. There's nothing in that video that is like formed in an argument by like any rational or sane standards. It is just me trying to see if I could somehow make this convincingly believable.
You know what? I totally understand that, because I made an episode of this podcast where we put the Succession characters through the Wonka factory, and that was barely related. I was just like, Shove them in there for my birthday.
We've really
Is
pushed
Shiv
it.
the Violet or the Veruca?
We actually
in that?
excluded her from it because she's been through enough.
Okay, that's fair. No, Shiv has had it. I think that the biggest thing was, like, I was trying to be really precious. Like, I wanted this video, if I was going to make, like, something about my favorite movie and favorite director, I would want it to be that freaking bulletproof or, like, that freaking tight. So I left out the part about the warm climate because I knew that that's what people would be thinking about the entire time. It's like, oh, but is he going to say the part about the Oompa Loompas? And it makes them, when they write a comment about
that's
it,
so smart.
think that they're the ones that figure it out and not me. And I'm like, no, this... I'm secretly... That video is me playing Willy Wonka that whole time. I'm like, all I'm trying to do...
Fascinating.
Twirling your evil mustache.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
All I'm trying to do is get you to the end of that video to see if you... And make you leave thinking that you bought it.
Because you're coming up with new things to add to it. So you're like, wait, yeah, that's so
Exactly.
smart.
I also think that, like, the biggest thing that I set is I only wanted to use footage from the movie with minimal, like, no jokes, no gags, nothing that, like, kills the momentum of the piece, just to keep it lean and smart and getting to the point, which makes it, like, weird how the timelines... I do want to talk about this with you guys briefly, because you understand this, because this almost gets into, like, some Great Glass Elevator level stuff. I accidentally set the timeline in that to be when the beginning of the train happens and not the beginning of the movie. So there would have been 60 years that would have passed between, in theory, when Willy Wonka... We all agree that Willy Wonka takes place in 1971, right? Like, canonically, when its release is when the movie happened. So this would have been 60 years in the future from that point, which, in retrospect, conceivably, if Wilford was Charlie Bucket, and if the de-aging technology from Great Glass Elevator was at all in effect, that could still have conceivably been him.
Yeah, that's my whole thing, is that though the de-aging... I cannot believe people don't take Vita Wonka and Wonka into account, because it's such a ripe thing for theories, because film theories are either that guy's actually another guy and time travel thing, or everyone's a murderer. Like, those are the two those are the two schools of film theories, I feel like. And I feel like the Vita Wonka and oh my god, I don't need to say the names. Wonka's time
and
bullshit
Wonkavite
is such a useful tool for the theories that I'm like, come on, use some of it. I mean, Elaine had a theory for a while that Grandpa Joe and Willy Wonka were secret gay lovers, and he aged up Grandpa Joe through some sort of... I don't know if that was a theory, more of a weird fantasy you had.
I mean, who's the top there?
It's Wonka. I don't need to... Actually, no.
I am going to say, wait a second, this is getting interesting.
Wow, now wait a minute.
They're
here.
first. There's no way. I can't.
There's no
I
way.
can't.
To also say that I feel like the one major goal with this video was because, like, I love these movies, and there is something genuinely unique and special, I think, about both of them, and the fact that you guys are, like, acknowledging, like, hey, Snowpiercer is sort of part of the unofficial Wonka canon by this point. That's all I was trying to accomplish. I feel like it did that really well.
Because I totally see all the similarities. I think we should give you an A tier because of the impact it has had.
I appreciate
Agreed.
this.
Agreed.
I'm down to make it. And also, feel free to leave this out. In the Snowpiercer television show, they used pure imagination as some of their... Oh, believe me, there is some shady stuff that happened with the Snowpiercer TV show. But when they did the initial promos, it's like, you know, they do the Fiona Apple, come with me, and you'll be... And I'm like, Warner Brothers. You know, it's funny how when I did that in my video, you guys copyright claimed me. But when you do it... Some marketing executive.
Now suddenly it's...
Honestly, Wonka Watch the podcast is a I feel like a long con plot line into how long it can take to get a cease and desist letter. Because going strong.
I want to frame it if it happens.
Oh, by the way, this is important. This is also important because you guys know Chris Evans did respond to the video.
He did.
Yes.
What?
He did in fact receive, watch, and tweeted about the video. And he wrote back that he loved it and all that he can say is the schnoz babies taste like schnoz babies.
Oh my god! That's incredible. That is incredible. That's the best response you could get.
That was literally, I'm like, okay, then the
did it.
video succeeded. The video did its job.
You're like, I set up what I accomplished.
However,
Good day, everybody.
what is even more interesting is what Bong Joon-ho said when I asked him about the video to his face.
Oh my god.
God.
And that I can't say on the podcast. I'm going to have to leave that as a secret for the next time.
Oh.
The next theory is that Wonka is Charlie's father.
Yes, which is, for the record, not on any of the Reddits, but is on the cast commentary on the Wonka DVD. And it is literally the last thing that they mention at the very end of that is the actress who plays Veruca Salt asks, what do you guys think about the theory that Willy Wonka is Charlie's father?
Huh.
So what do you guys think about the theory that Willy Wonka is Charlie's father?
I don't believe it personally, but I can understand the appeal. I just don't think it's interesting because there's an element of this in the Scott Frank script where like Wonka's in a debt to Charlie's dad, and there's some weird homoerotic undertones in the way he talks about him. It's a whole thing. I don't know. I just feel like it's like way less interesting, and then it adds questions of like, why wasn't he financially supporting this family at least anonymously beforehand? Like, Wonka's deadbeat dad is not interesting to me. I don't know. It's just I don't.
Well, because it also mean that his parents, Wonka's parents, are dying as well in this bed, because if he's Charlie's dad, then those grandparents are his parents, and he's just like, fuck it, fuck my parents,
That is a fantastic
fuck my kid,
point.
get out of here. I don't care. It's like,
that is-
shit, dude, you just said get rid of the entire
And that makes
line.
Grandpa Joe's backstory insane because that's his fucking son, and that feels like
No, I think you guys are completely on the money. But it does surface, and I do want to bring this up with you because this is one important thing that is unique to the film version. Is the film version is the only major one where Charlie doesn't have his dad. Like Charlie's dad, Mr. Bucket, is present in the books, is present in the Burton version.
But you're forgetting about Tom and Jerry Wonka.
I was gonna say, wait.
No.
God, oh my
and the Broadway version. The
We'll never
Broadway
be
version,
free.
which is kind of big. The Broadway version includes a
yeah.
dream ballet about I'm not joking, where Charlie's mom sings about missing the dead dad, and it's the
That's
worst song in the musical.
almost as bad as Cheer Up Charlie. Oh my god.
No, it's so bad. It is this horrible, like, 4-minute song. You see the specter of him dance across the stage, and there's this weird kind of, like, I think in those versions, I think it is undoubtable that in the versions where Charlie does not have a father, Willy Wonka is a father figure for him. No question. In the books, he's kind of like his crazy grandpa. He's not really like a father figure. But in the versions where there is an absent dad, there is like Wonka is the father figure. In the Broadway one, it almost seems like him and Charlie's mom are going to get together. It's vaguely implied, but it's there. Like, am I remembering that wrong, Elaine?
Wild. I don't recall.
I feel like there was some element of that where like they had a weird tender
tension.
moment.
It's just
Anyway, not the point, but it is very like, I think he is without a doubt a father figure for Charlie, but I don't think he's literally Charlie's dad. Like, I feel like that's just taking it a step too far for me.
I think that your realization that he's leaving his grandparents to rot in a bed instantly puts us in the garbage chute. I think that you are correct.
I agree, because I had not even thought about that. Because that's I think the other problem with it is he's a fucking millionaire. He can send them $200. He knows they're dying from cabbage. Not from cabbage, but that's all they have.
dying from cabbage.
Like, they need it. So yeah, it's I don't think it's I'll get the
Get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
boo. Bad tweet. Okay.
Boo.
This is
May I also say my favorite bit of Wonka related trivia is that the actors who were playing like Grandma Josephine and Grandma Georgie, like all the other grandparents, were Holocaust survivors. So they were, they would literally survive the camps. And when they came to set, they freaked out because they kept their shoes underneath the bed. And when the PAs came to try and move the shoes, they all freaked out because, that's why they had to keep their shoes underneath their bed, because people would try to steal them when they were in the cabs.
Oh,
Wow.
my gosh.
So they were really, really sensitive to that.
That's fascinating.
Wow.
That is a piece of Wonka trivia I didn't know, which is a rare occurrence in my life. So thank you for giving me this.
Also, there is one female Oompa Loompa, and her name is Peppy Poopy.
I did not know about the name.
Her name is literally Peppy Poopy.
You're at Starbucks. Peppy Poopy? Large wet print?
Just
Or
Poopy.
the Oompa Loompas name.
Poopy. That is the
Peppy
actress's
Poopy?
name.
Wow.
P-E-P-E-P-O-U-P-E. There may be an
Wow.
alternate German pronunciation,
Wow.
but you see her
Wow.
briefly on the side when they cart Violet out of the room.
Okay, we have to get on
Shall
to
we get
some
into
of
our garbage crap
our
that
garbage
we've created on this
bullshit.
podcast?
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
All right. Wonka's a Time Lord.
I did not say that Wonka is a Time Lord specifically. I said that he's more alien-esque, but he's kind of got some Time Lord-ish qualities, is my opinion. I don't think he regenerates. It's just like the glass elevator isn't that far from a TARDIS. I will maintain that the entire glass elevator book kind of reads like a Doctor Who episode.
Oh no, I can completely, like, especially like one of the B grade Doctor Who episodes, like that. It's weird how it's like, is this a good Roald Dahl book or a terrible Doctor Who episode?
Yeah. Yeah, there's some weird quality to the way that it is written that is just like because it's got that, like, it has that structure of like a 15-minute cartoon and another 15-minute cartoon where the stories are barely connected. They're like connected by a thread.
This is a question. Does the Great Glass Elevator like have a moral?
No.
Okay.
Well, no, the moral of the Great Glass Elevator is don't be selfish, because Grandma Georgina takes too much of the vitamin medicine and they spend like a bunch of time trying to fix her mistake, and Wonka goes around to a big waterfall in his factory and has this very introspective drawing looking all sad where he's like, why can't everyone just be nice and chill and not be mean? And it's really weird and like has this moment of vulnerability from Wonka that like you never get in any of the, like, you're inside Wonka's head, which is weird. Like, you don't get that
Never
normally.
happens in any other canon. Yeah,
it's a moment into his
so
psyche
bizarre.
where he's just like, why can't everyone be nice and cool? Coming from the guy who like shoved a kid up a fucking tube. But okay, it's weird. It's very much like casting stones from glass houses. But yeah, he's just got like, he's just weird. And like, he knows a lot about space. And
he can speak the language of the Vermicious Canids. Like, he can just do that, Like, I feel like
it's suspicious. He also can, a lot of adaptations imply he is significantly older than he is in real life. Like, in the Broadway version, there's an incredibly memorable moment when they're in the glass elevator and Christian Borle, the actor, has a big top hat on. And he suddenly pulls it away to reveal an incredible receding hairline that jump scares me every time I watch it. And he's like, Charlie, I'm much older than you think. The actor's like 35.
Oh my God.
And he has this huge receding hairline and his hair's all gray all of a sudden. And it's so disorienting, especially because he's kind of hot the rest of the musical. Like, not to be that person, but like, he's kind of attractive. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, it's just, it's not a...
What's really wild, I just watched the Polar Express for the first time today in our Wonka Piercer Discord. We had a Polar Express viewing party. They do that same reveal with Tom Hanks's character.
It's weird. It's like, okay, and? It's like... But yeah, multiple elaborate, and it's also, he seems to have extensive experience with space travel because he's like been to the Vermicious Canids fucking planet, and he's like, oh yeah, they've done this to a lot of planets before.
Yes.
And it's like, why do you know that?
Now, does this apply though to the film version?
Oh no, but this isn't a theory about the film version.
In general. Okay. So we're dealing with this a globalist Wonka. This is an intersectional.
yes.
An intersectional Wonka theory.
Yes. There's our intersectional Wonka theory.
I will say this. I think that giving the perspective on space travel that you're feeding me from the Great Glass Elevator, I dig that. I dig that, and I think that is a very informed take.
It would explain some of his otherworldly qualities too, and why he can like go down to hell and be chill about it. Like, that's.
Oh yeah.
I don't think this is not an A-tier theory. But
I would put it in a C tier. I respect it. I think
it's probably a C. It's a C.
That's fair. That seems fair.
I would also say that like putting up there with like perfectly good Wonkas would have been Tom Baker from Doctor Who. Yeah. Tom Baker would have been a fine
was
Wonka.
He up for it? No, I don't think he was. It was another doctor that was up for it.
Yeah, I want to say one of the earlier ones. Pertwee or something like that.
Yes, it was him. It was totally Pertwee. I remember that.
Let's put this guy number C. Willy Wonka. Here's the thing. I actually talked about this recently with somebody. Does Willy Wonka have magic powers?
Yes.
Is he a supernatural person?
What's the difference between magic and science?
Well, this is where I think there's a catch. I don't think Willy Wonka is a wizard or a sorcerer. However, it is completely valid that he is an alchemist.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'm right there.
He can't cast spells because that would be ridiculous. He can't ride drugs. Can he transmute matter? Yes, abso-freaking-lutely he can. I think that everything that you see as a result from his factory comes as a result of transmutation. But like following Full Metal Alchemist things, he has to have the necessary material in order to do it first. He can't just create something from nothing.
I believe that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he puts fucking shoes in the mixing bowl, so that's
wild.
That's evidence, I guess.
The bird and the egg, she's obsessed with.
Yeah,
you know, even
every
on
adaptation
like,
loves the
it's a
goddamn bird and the
that's-
egg, except for 1971. They don't do the egg in the 1971.
Or TJ Wonka. Did they do it in TJ Wonka?
No sugary baby blue bird in the TJ Wonka.
Well, that's why we hate it. That's why we hate Tom and Jerry.
I get pissed whenever the bird is mentioned. I get mad about it now.
I know, me too. I don't know why, but I do too.
I think the
I'm
opera
just like,
song.
try something new.
I never want to hear anyone talk about this fucking thing again. Anyway, that's a side note.
Babe.
I'll put in like I'll put this actually like B. Does B feel
good?
Yeah, I think it also ties into like we kind of sometimes have considered that Wonka has some sort of eldritch powers with his whole the minus land thing is weird. What the fuck is up with that? Like that.
That is some
person thing to access, and I feel like that can tie in well to that theory because he has to have some sort of
souls. What? Like,
as to remind everyone, the Roald Dahl wiki describes Minus Land as a dark, foggy limbo where the spirits of people, the Minuses, wait to be born again. It is also a dangerous place for the living and yet to be born because of invisible monsters called Ganulis. And then, like, Charlie calls it hell without heat and calls it, like, the most terrifying thing he's ever experienced in his life. He goes, this is what hell must be like. And it's like, why does Wonka go down there, like, weekly?
Glass Elevator really opened the door to a lot of, like, what the fuck going on. Because, like, the main book, like, obviously, there's a lot you can play with, but the Glass Elevator really said...
Glass Elevator,
like,
once we got to Glass Elevator, we're like, okay, well, none of it fucking matters then. Great. Awesome. Like, it's like... we
don't care about chocolate. Let's just go to fucking space, hell, and, you know, battle to the death. Like,
let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys this, then. Do you think Snowpiercer makes a better sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory than Great Glass Elevator does?
Honestly, yeah. I'm not gonna
there we go.
Yeah, because like Glass Elevator, like the whole essence of like the original book is like so much about the food and the chocolate and the candy and like all this stuff, and like you just like I think we talked about it. You don't really need to have Wonka as a character to do Glass Elevator. You could have totally different characters and just have some wild inventor who has a cool little like rocket ship elevator, and then they could do the same exact thing, and it would actually be a better story.
And then the conclusion of the book wouldn't be the grandparents get a letter from the president and are like, time to get out of bed. Let's go to the department store and buy clothes. That's how the book ends.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
No, I think that's why I liked the idea of like Snowpiercer acting as a sequel of sorts, because thematically it's about decay. And then when you look at it as like, oh yeah, this is the imagination decayed. These are these characters decayed.
It is definitely a better sequel.
Mike TV just shuts the hell up now because he's been through too much shit.
So Grandpa Joe hate. You have added this. What is the theory associated with this?
Here is the thing. It is the notion that Grandpa Joe is in fact a total piece of shit. Why I think this qualifies as not just a Wonka theory, but the greatest Wonka theory is because this was absolutely not the intent of this character with the filmmakers.
That's true, and it is definitely how it kind of comes off.
Exactly. When you read the material,
true, yeah.
when you read all the material, all everyone does is talk about how nice of a time they had with Jack Albertson, and everyone's just like, "Oh, he was so nice." Charlie was like, the day that I did Golden Ticket was my favorite day on set," and like all of this stuff. And they when in the director's head, it's just like Grandpa Joe is the most whole, because especially unlike other than Gene Wilder, and like Roy Kinnear, he was the only name actor in the film. And like, you know, he was an old school Broadway song and dance. He was like the only one with like musical experience, you know? And clearly the intention was for Grandpa Joe to just be a loving, supportive character. But the second that you give it any critical thought whatsoever, it not only falls apart, it like turns in on itself in just this horrible spike trap of realizing, oh God, Grandpa Joe, not only is he not a good person, he may be the worst person.
Truly, he's
Ever.
awful. And the funny thing is most of the other adaptations have noticed this and have fixed it. Like it's the same as the Violet theory. Like the 2005 Grandpa Joe, I think I likened him to a Disney animal companion in the sense that he does so much nothing and he's just so lovable and there. Like that's what they had to reduce him to in response to this. It's God, he is. It's like it's his tobacco secret fund money that this family has no money and they're still paying for his goddamn tobacco. He's clearly able. Like he's clearly fine. Like he's not nearly old
the man
enough
can
for
dance.
this. What? It very much feels like he's living out his toddlers and tiaras fantasy with Charlie. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Which makes Charlie seem like discredited. Like it really feels like this is his moment, and it's like let the kid have a thing, you know. And it's the whole thing where he sings, "I've got a golden ticket." No, you don't. Charlie does.
Yeah.
Stop. You don't have that.
Take
That's
you.
not yours.
I never actually put that together until just now.
Yeah, no,
the whole movie is just Grandpa Joe making everything about himself. To the point where Charlie doesn't even fucking talk in the factory.
not really. Right?
Oh my God. I think you actually bring it. Has anyone from the factory timed out the amount of time that Grandpa Joe spends talking versus the amount of time that Charlie spends talking?
God.
Has this been graphed?
Because he's the one who's like, fizzy lifting drinks, Charlie, let's do it. You know, and I think what I really like about this theory is I think one of the good thing about a good theory here is like, if I watched it the first time and I didn't even have a single thought about it, and now you bring it up and I'm like, oh, like, because like when I watched this, like when I was younger and stuff, I never would have thought, you know, because I've seen it multiple times. I wasn't like, oh yeah, Grandpa Joe's evil. But like the second you start to put like that critical eye under it and you're like, wait, why the hell? They're all starving. He can do this. He's the one that leads Charlie astray to do the fizzy lifting drinks when Charlie, his whole thing is being good and moral and he doesn't want to, you know, and Grandpa Joe's like, yeah, fuck it. Who cares? Lift moss, let's go, you know, and it's just like what are you doing, you know? And
this is his trip to Las Vegas. Like it feels like he's on his Vegas casino run, and it's like, no, you stop.
Which then begs the question: did Charlie actually do a boo-boo with the fizzy lifting drinks, or is that just Grandpa Joe, you know, and Charlie like got lumped into it?
That's
like
actually
I don't know
really
if that
true
counts.
that makes more sense. That like all the other kids, their parents weren't encouraging them. They were kind of telling them to stop, whereas Charlie has this unstable figure in his life who does not give him appropriate advice.
Charlie is like the most destined to be an alcoholic fictional character like ever. When you look at the crushing sense of self-worth, the enabling uncle, the come on, let's just try fizzy lifting drink, you earned it, you deserved it. It's like, oh my God. This poor kid is like, I was going to say he's the only Wonka to end up in a 12-step program later.
I feel like this is an S-tier theory because
this is
good.
the S-tier theory.
This is scrumdiddlyumptious.
It's not only just scrumdiddlyumptious, it's the fact that every single person who contributes to the r/Grandpa Joe hate come up with a brilliant point. Like there's just there's just endless, arguably finding ways to hate Grandpa Joe has become as like an even more fulfilling part of the film's legacy than any other facet of the film.
Yes.
It's really fun. It's like, it's so it's really fun to watch and just yell at Grandpa Joe. Like, it's really enjoyable. And
Play
it's
that
fun
victory
watching
music, Felicia. Scrumdiddlyumptious.
Scrumdiddlyumptious theory. S
Fuck you, Grandpa Joe.
Fuck you, Grandpa Joe.
Fuck you,
suck.
Grandpa Joe.
Get shit on, Grandpa Joe. So as we move from one S tier theory to another, surely S
We don't even need to talk.
theory.
But just pop it up there. It's
an S tier.
solid.
I'm not even going to
Solid.
debate this. There we go. All right, play the music. Play the music.
He's gay for Wilkinson.
He's gay for Wilkinson. He's gay for Mr. Wilkinson. They're a lovingly married couple and have been together since 1964.
They watch the sunset together while they test new chocolate.
They go to Applebee's and get drunk on the martinis. So yeah, our theory, this is probably the only one I believe, even though I know there's no evidence for it. I just think it's fun.
There's a part of me that almost wishes that if I ask you about this, you just respond by playing the David Lynch meme where somebody says, elaborate on that, and he just says, no.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like, well, here's the elaboration.
Okay.
Mr. Wilkinson is the only other person who's in the factory. And that's it. A lot of trust is needed there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, truly, like, think about it. The chocolate spies were so damaging to Wonka that he shut down his factory and fired all the workers for years. It depends on the canon. For some people, it's 10. A couple of people, it's, like, different years or whatever. But, like, a very fucking long time to basically pause
Pull
business
yourself off
somehow.
from society.
Right? But you're going to let Wilkinson stay. So clearly, huge trust there. Especially to then have this person you trust so deeply. And again, the whole reason that everything is set up, like Wonka's very paranoid about these chocolate spies. Like, I don't think we talk about the trauma that caused him enough, because like everything he's set up after that moment is because of everyone stealing his ideas. So he trusts this person enough to not only let them stay presumably in the factory, but then to go out into the world and interact with other people when he easily, every time he leaves, could be taking these nuggets of information. Clearly he has access to the news networks because he's there all the time when the kids are winning these fucking tickets. Like, Wilkins knows stuff, right? So it's like, it's just, to have that much trust in somebody, to be alone in the factory that long. An enemies to lovers romance was bound to happen. A friends to lovers, I don't know. I'll write it next time for our fan fiction episode.
And I'll say it, as a bisexual, Wonka just feels a little gay.
You know, I was going to say, this is an interesting thought. This is an interesting thought. To when it comes to Gene Wilder is such a fascinating figure because he had that sort of like, you know, especially in the producers, he has this like lamb-like innocence about him when he needs to be, but he's also very handsome. And I think that
we've discussed this.
I believe that you guys have discussed this. What was especially really weird, there's a movie called that Wilder directed, which, have you guys checked out Sherlock Holmes's Smarter Younger Brother?
No. But that sounds great.
That sounds something exactly that we should be doing.
So you have to watch this. Because what's crazy about that one is it came later. Wilder wrote and directed it. He plays Sherlock Holmes's smarter younger brother, Smidgey.
Well, this is going to get added to the episode right now.
This is happening.
Keep your podcast player eyes peeled. It's coming soon.
What's fascinating about you got him, Madeline Kahn, Marty Feldman from so he had like a mini Young Frankenstein reunion going on there, and Roy Kinnear. So Mr. Salt from Wonka plays a henchman in this new movie, and the props are outrageous. It was way more expensive than Wonka. It made more money than Wonka. It is completely forgotten, and it's not nearly as memorable and magical. And what's what makes it hard to watch is like there is so much hanky-panky in that movie between him and Madeline Kahn. Like it is an especially like if you watch Willy Wonka, it's like, oh, that's fine. And then you watch Sherlock Holmes' smarter younger brother, and it's like, whoa, this movie is really horny. This is an uncomfortably I feel like I'm walking in on my dad cheating with Madeline Kahn.
Yeah.
which
Oh my god.
and apparently you could, I don't want to elaborate, that might have been like the movie where like Wilder's estranged daughter was like, Dad, why were you screwing Madeline Kahn? And Wilder's like, I wasn't having, I respect Madeline so much, as in you watch this movie and it's like, dude, if you want to use this movie as evidence that you were not banging Madeline Kahn, this is not in your favor.
Oh my god.
This is, we will definitely have to check that out. Totally. But yeah, no, I think also my exposure really, like, I don't think I ever saw the 1971 movie as a kid, so I only saw it for this podcast. And but I'd seen like Blazing Saddles before that. Yeah. And there's some like, I don't know. I feel like that has like not influenced my perspective, but I think also like knowing what you're bringing with Gene Wilder into it. Like I didn't see Gene Wilder as like my dad from childhood. You know what I like? It's not.
Yes, it's not like, nearly as sentimental attachment to you.
Yeah, I have no sentimental attachment, so I'm like, he's gay for Slugworth. Whoopee! Like I don't care. You know. I think in my opinion, it's a more compelling theory than he's Charlie's dad, even though there's no evidence for it. I just think it's more fun. I don't know. It just feels fun.
It's cute.
Yeah, and
you can't say no to cute. It's
you know
cute.
what? I will agree on the principle that there's nobody else there in the factory, and Wonka,
there's nobody else there. And
Wonka definitely doesn't have it in for the Oompa Loompas, and you know what? I think that we can agree. Wonka's probably omnisexual. He's probably like pan or some crap like that.
Yeah.
You know.
As we've said before in this podcast, Willy Wonka is bisexual, except for
Yes.
Johnny Wonka. That one can go with, and he is not. He's not involved in anything.
So I think we've done it. We've ranked every single Wonka theory, and I feel this feels like this list ended up being much more balanced than I thought it was
shockingly
going to be.
balanced.
I'm shocked we have scrumdiddlyumptious theories, to be honest.
I mean, I think let's be honest. If we do a real analysis of he's gay for Slugworth, it's at the most
It's
a B.
still at the top, yeah. So
Why would you
this is
ever
really-
want to put gay love in the garbage chute?
Yeah. Wow.
Every time I say something, it
Homophobic
makes
at
me
this point.
sound homophobic, even though I am bisexual. It is so. This has happened to me way too many times on this podcast. Okay.
Well, I guess I'm not too shocked by how this shook out, you know, at the end, but it is a lot more even than I thought. I thought we were just going to have everyone in the garbage chute, you know.
No,
but
it really felt like it was going to be
honestly,
garbage chute.
The fact that it was all a dream as a C is kind of the most shocking to me, to be honest, because to me, that feels like an instant garbage chute. But then
I'm
to
going
have
to be honest,
that,
I feel like that one could be a D, but I respect its place.
The other thing is, like, when they shot that part, like, before he goes to bed, Mel Stewart literally, like, blew smoke in his face to get him to cry.
Mel Stewart! Oh my god.
So I'm just like, honestly, it's not the idea that he just like falls asleep and it's all a dream. It's the fact that he's crying. He's at his lowest, most
It is. Yeah, I definitely won over more on that one than I thought I would. I thought,
I think I just reflexively hate it was just a dream theory at this point in my life. So it makes me mad that there's some merit to this one.
But it's the most depressing dream. It is the most upsetting
it's like not even
dream.
Come on, it's not fun. Like, it's just sad.
You thought this was supposed to be fun? I think that we have... There were some other ones I could have looked up. There's a few on, like, the Theorizer channel that's like, oh, Wonka made the Oompa Loompas or some weird... I feel these are good. These are, like, the classics. These are the classics of the Wonka. And I also would argue that out of all of the fan theories in general, these are some of the most interesting ones.
But yeah, no, I think this is a good set, and I hope you all have enjoyed today's lecture.
Yes, we have
this
done
was a
so much
seminar.
This
on
was
Wonka
so much
theories.
good work. Thank you both. First off, thank you both so much for giving a shout out to the video and channel and having me as a guest on your show. This was fantastic.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's truly an honor.
It's genuinely, this has been like group therapy. Like, it's so nice to have someone else who's like so like broken by this stuff.
Because all I'm used to is
it's so
talking
lovely.
to people in my normal life, and they go, "What?" And I go, "Never mind. It's not."
It's like,
important."
sorry,
And now,
you're right.
now someone else who validates our madness, which is good.
Someone else is in the well with us.
If I may also say, in terms of, I think that your guys' pick for James Acaster as a Wonka is inspired. I think that he would be freaking... If Netflix had any common sense, he would be the lead in that Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator series that they're making. If they had any common sense.
Are they making that officially?
It's like Taika Waititi or something. It was greenlit.
I think they fired all the people who were working on it.
Okay,
so
I believe that too. I believe that also.
Because it was supposed to be animated and they were getting rid of the whole division because they own all the Roald Dahl shit now. So we'll see. We'll see if it happens.
We want James.
It would be really good. He would be perfect.
The three picks for Wonkas that me and my friends have had, which I thought were interesting ones to bring to the table.
Yeah.
I will also give a shout out to Adam, who is Nomadic Kong, who did the unofficial Wonka Piercer follow-up video that frankly I think does an even nuttier job than mine of going in on this stuff. It's very weird to be like, there's some guy in England who made a follow-up video to my video that has over 1 million views and is exceptionally well made. But he picked Bruce Forsyth for his, and Bruce is a good choice if you pick him up. He's like a much more kind of classic-y fun type of pick.
Oh, I could totally see that.
Yeah, Bruce Forsyth would be good. My friend John said Dev Patel.
We are huge, Dev Patel
huge Dev Patel.
Yes.
Yes.
He would have been like our alternate choice for a Wonka prequel, but it would have been a more somber Wonka prequel.
Yes. And my personal, if I had to pick a non-Gene Wilder person, I would want to see Maynard James Keenan from Tool.
Whoa.
Wait.
Hold on.
I'm gonna have to look this guy up.
Hold on.
Feel free.
I can see this.
Well, because I like my Wonkas leaning on the darker side, and he has a beautiful singing voice, and I feel like actually hearing Maynard James Keenan sing Pure Imagination would be something. Have you guys listened to Primus and the Chocolate Factory yet?
Oh, we've listened to Primus and the Chocolate Factory.
Listened to Primus.
Lovely.
We really got won over by it by the end. We kind of hated it at first.
Yeah, we were like,
by
what?
The end,
And then we're like,
but honestly, that's the story of how we feel about every Wonka media, so that's not unique to Primus. It's just like every time we list one, like we start one and we go, oh, fuck, not this shit again. Come on. Would you think we'd be used to it at this point, but we're not?
Jerry Wonka. We will never be okay
with
Tom and Jerry Wonka. That we will never be won over on that one.
This feels like such an amazing exercise you guys are doing in creative self-loathing.
It really is. It truly is. We have to play Wonka Pop Tropica Island next week. I'm not happy. Like when
I tell you, so the movie was originally going to come out in March of this year, and when we heard it got delayed, we literally, I was like, I can't. We have to do more. This because the podcast will go for a little bit, but there's an expiration date here, and we desperately want that expiration date. It needs to be done at some point, and we love doing this, but we're also
will we discuss
the end
the
is at
Wonka
some
movie
point.
minute by minute? Potentially, we're considering it, but it's not.
but it was just like, oh my god, from March to December, and then Felicia a couple weeks ago was like, there might be another extension. I was like, I can't.
The good thing is, thank God it got extended because we were not making it to that fucking premiere in March. And let me say, December's not looking likely either. But maybe if a twist of fate happens,
maybe we could be given
the
key to a local town.
Honestly,
we get given a candy shop. We get given a candy factory at the end of this.
Google
clusters, be fucking awful.
Google clusters in Nashville.
Clusters.
Maybe we should aim. We got obsessed.
We should try and get the Google cluster sponsorship.
I have their email. Anyway.
Fuck.
I think we need a few more listeners to really get that.
Not to cloud over here, but I have Google Cluster's email. Oh, so after all of this theorizing, my dear friends, and after going through all of these...
This was a lot of theorizing.
Threads,
this was a lot of theory and serious analysis.
Perhaps what theorizing might you have for the prequel? For prequel predictions?
Yes.
What predictions do we have either about what will happen in the movie, around the marketing, anything? What do we have? What are we feeling, friends?
In general, I think he's going to be hilarious. I think this is going to be Timothée Chalamet giving a comedic performance that's going to be unlike any other role that he's played. It's going to be him doing high energy mania at points that we have not seen from him, that he is going to deliver brilliantly. You guys are more of the experts on you guys have been looking up the leaks so you can confirm or deny whether it's because we're gonna have Oompa Loompas.
Which do you know about the Hugh Grant thing? You know
Hugh Loompa,
right?
Hugh
Okay,
Loompa,
good.
yeah.
Hugh Oompa Loompa. The question being, is there going to be some sort of battle for Loompa Land? The real thing that I'm wondering, which I bet they have to frickin' do, is we're finally, at long goddamn last, going to see a Vermicious Knid on screen.
I hope they will. I hope
they
they will.
will too.
If we have to, because they're probably going to like have Fickelgruber, Slugworth off to the side as like some.
I think it might
side.
be a Snozwanger though, or a Ganuli, because those are the things in Loompa Land, not the
Horns.
the
No,
monsters
they
are space-based
said-
only.
In the film version, Wonka says Snozwangers and those rotten Vermicious Knids.
I guess did Roald Dahl just erase his own theory? Like, did
Do
he
you
just
act
erase
like
his own
any
canon?
of this make any fucking sense?
But, okay, here's the only thing. I think they'll have to do a redesign on the Vermicious Knids because the Vermicious Knids canonically are like a giant shit. Like they're just a big brown
Soggy
worm.
chicken nugget.
No, all I'm envisioning is they literally just take the Jabberwocky model that they had from Alice in Wonderland and they just put that in and call it a
Boom.
Vermicious Knid.
I like it.
Totally, yeah.
So
would love
that is my big uninteresting. I feel like that is my big prediction.
No, I think
for-
it makes
These are
sense.
good.
Our theories are pure bullshit because they're so abstracted from anything anymore. This is my prediction, and it's more boring than normal, but Elaine and I talked about this briefly before the record. I think its box office opening weekend will come below Barbie, but above, what's another big movie coming out this year?
Have you seen that the Super Mario Brothers movie is going to make $1 billion?
Oh, Super Mario.
Have you
I
seen
forgot
that
about
the Super Mario Brothers movie has already made like over $690 million?
Well, didn't I heard that the Peaches song just got nominated for something, right? Like the Bowser
Okay,
Peach
it will
song.
be above. It will be below Barbie, but above The Little Mermaid. That's my theory.
I
I have no
get behind
logic behind any of it. I'm just throwing out bullshit into the air, as I do frequently. So
Yes.
that. I love it.
it's
I
not
also-
as bad as the seagull.
Well, my super exciting, super cool, well thought out one is I think there will be a pair of siblings that have a squabble.
That's about as abstract as we normally are. So
I think that Wonka is going to fight Shadow Wonka in the Water Temple.
I love that. That would be great.
I would actually fuck with that so hard. Just
That
like
would change
That's what he uses
inexplicably.
his cane. That's what the
Timothy
cane. That's what's-
Chalamet. Yeah.
You know what? This is a question we should ask guests. Willy Wonka in this movie has a tiny present on the top of his cane. Tiniest little present box that is prominently featured in the promo photos that have been released. What do you think is in that box? Because we've
Because
thought
in
about
the
this a
box.
lot. It's surprisingly hard to find. There's this. It looks
Because
like
they
it
don't
could
want you
open,
talking about it. They don't want us.
Oh, there we
talking
go.
about
Oh, that is a tiny, tiny little present.
but it looks like he's about to open it.
Yes.
Hands look really weird close up.
Now, here I will say is the catch. Is like your brain's first response wants it to be that's the everlasting gobstopper, but we're still like decades away from Wonka developing the everlasting gobstopper.
Yeah. There seems to be a family element to this film, so it may be some sort of family heirloom,
Like
a
a
cocoa
crest.
bean. Some people have said it's Pandora's box. There's a lot of theories.
I'm guessing it's a very tiny Gwyneth Paltrow head.
Perfect.
Perfect. I love that.
That is my guess. Is just
Goop
a
crosses
microscopic.
all universes. Time parallels. Goop is everywhere.
Everlasting goop stopper.
Oh no! Oh no!
Let me posit one final thought
Yes.
to the two of you. Great Glass Elevator. Hotel USA is a giant, tubular, luxury hotel that orbits the planet Earth once every year.
Oh. Oh no.
That's good. I see what
Kind
you're
of
saying. That's
sounds.
good.
Oh no.
Kind of sounds
I see
familiar,
it.
doesn't
that
it?
That sounds a little familiar.
That
Sounds like a
familiar.
certain choo-choo train.
And that's your final note to end.
That is it.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Wonka Watch. If you want to check out more of our stuff, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Wonka Watch. And if you want to yell at us about theories we didn't cover, you can do so at wonkarapture@gmail.com. plug what you want to plug. Go
Yes,
for it.
hi. Feel free to check out on my channel right now. I am doing a 5-part documentary series that is all about everything related to Snowpiercer and or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It is very exciting. We've released part 1. Part 2 will be coming out soon, and hopefully the rest will be out before the end of the year. I'm going to go back to my train in the well. I'm going to go back to my train car in the well.
Goodbye. It was so lovely having
And
you. We'll
watch.
fix your DVD. Maybe that'll be your birthday present. We'll get you a new one. It'll be fine.
Actually, if you could get me another movie, that would be so great.
Hey, I've got
We'll
one
just get you to
right
say
here
what.
for you. Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry
Factory.
Oh my god,
the
we
only
finally
DVD we
break the
have.
curse. It's Jumanji. We got rid of our Jumanji.
We can
If
leave
you guys
the well. We're free.
speaking of, Tom and Jerry Wonka, we have a commentary track. If you want to, for some reason, support what we do here on the podcast, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/WonkaWatch. We got all fun little goodies once a month and sometimes even more extra stuff, like putting all the Wonkas into the Sims and letting them murder each other and see what happens. So after all of this theorizing and hypothesizing and philosophizing all about this simple little silly Candyman, after all of this, after all is said and done, you know what it is, Felicia, and you know what it is? It's really not that important.
It's not that important.
It's not that important. Luke, say it was.
Despite
It's not
how
that
it
important.
feels. Him
But
being
hey.
gay for Mr. Wilkinson.
That's just a watch. A Wonka watch. Thanks for Wonka watching.
And then he waves to us as the train goes by. True, true, goodbye.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Choo choo. Bye. Bye.